most people try to convince you that it's not a realistic job.
At the time, I didn't really think it was real.
It was questionable, like why they didn't really understand. But now that I am doing it, they definitely support me and they think it's pretty fucking cool.
Around 12 years old, very tumultuous relationship with my father. It seemed like the only time we got along was when WCW was on television. So that's what kind of started my love for professional wrestling.
So when I got into wrestling, my family was not really fans of wrestling. I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time. And some friends of mine, they would watch it all the time, every week. And that was my first exposure, and I fell in love with it ever since. And I would do everything I could as a kid to emulate the guys on TV. We'd wrestle in the backyard, on the trampoline, you know. We'd pick characters that we'd see on TV, and that's what we would go do to have fun.
My best friend invited me to a show. I had no idea what was happening. I didn't even know that there were shows running in our area. He asked me to accompany him to a show, and I was hooked immediately. The characters, the stories, the matches, I was enamored. I just decided one day, I'm going. I'm gonna go to practice tonight. Boom, and I did it, and it changed my life. It was the greatest decision I ever made, to start training to be a professional wrestler, because my heart feels full now. You know, I'm pursuing my dream, you know, the only thing I ever loved in my life.
Who am I? Well, I got many names here. My real name's Mike Rosario. In-ring performer, Hellcat, and by everyone else, I'm the boss. Had a grandfather who loved pro wrestling, and since I can remember, right in front of the TV, bottle in the mouth, watching WWF. You know, you'd see the ads in these magazines, become a pro wrestler. But back, you know, we're talking 1975. I'm an old guy. You know, they wanted 6'3", 350 pounds, and I was 5 foot nothing, you know, $120 soaking wet. So I mean, I always knew I would do it, but I wasn't sure how. I just happened to stumble one Saturday to a flea market to buy baseball cards, and they were setting up a professional wrestling ring in the flea market. And then I don't remember who approached me. I think it was Barry Hardy, who used to be one of like the top 10 jobbers of all time, you know. He's putting this event on, and then he gave me a rundown. It was like, yeah, afterwards, you know, come talk to me. I'm going to be opening a training facility up in Rochester, and if you really want to go to school to learn this, I'll teach you. I'm living in Ashtabula, Ohio, which is about 3 hours away, and I ran home, told my dad, right back, you know, we went that night and checked it out, got all the info, and the following weekend, man, that Saturday morning, 5 a.m., in a car driving up here to Rochester to actually train for the first time ever.
So my family has never really truly been big supporters of being a wrestler. When I was a kid, I collected all the action figures, you know, and I wanted all the t-shirts and all the posters, you know, and eventually I became a teenager and I wanted to do backyard wrestling, you know, so all the guys would come to my house and we would do all this stuff on a trampoline in my backyard. You know, we'd have fake audiences and our entrance music with sparklers and, you know what I mean, all the whole nine. You know, but eventually it's like my family, they really pushed that I need to find a career. I need to go to school. I need to go to college, you know? And so I did all that. I just stayed a fan of professional wrestling because that's what my family wanted. You know, they were telling me that I need to go to college, so I went to college. They were telling me I needed to work this job. I have this talent, I need to do this, so I was doing this, and it was just to appease everybody else.
I heard about a wrestling school in North Carolina where my mom was from, and I ran away from foster care at 17 years old and like hitchhiked to North Carolina under the subterfuge of like telling my mom like I was like with foster parents on a vacation. Because communication back then, there were no cell phones. So it was harder for people to get in touch with people. And I kind of lived on the streets and went to a wrestling school for a couple months before my mom caught me and kind of made me come back to New York. So I got into wrestling at the end of what would have been my childhood, but I was technically a child until I was 21.
I think it was my second time there ever watching an NXT show as a fan, and I was lucky enough to get front row seats. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Go through the whole show, cool interactions and whatever, but Johnny Gargano was my favorite wrestler. Eventually when he's chopping Adam Cole around the ring, starts on the other side of the ring, I'm like, oh, come over here, come over here. He comes closer. I'm like, oh, Johnny, come over here, Johnny, come over here. And then he looks me dead in the eyes. He's like, oh yeah, I'm coming. Brings Adam Cole right in front of me, chops him right on the barricade, big ol' high five, and that was the main moment where I knew I wanted to be on the other side of the barricade because I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I think my senior speech went 17 minutes long, and the cherry on the cake for that is I ended it by telling everyone in the room, all of my high school wrestling family and their family and all my friends, that I was gonna start training to become a professional wrestler. I think at that time it would have been a couple weeks, 2 weeks after that. I was super nervous. I was like, I thought everyone was gonna like think it was dumb or stupid or like make fun of me for it, but everyone was super supportive, and it like ended with a very loud ovation. I was just like, oh, I don't know how to react. Why is everyone clapping for me? This is cool though. Before I went to college, I went 3 days a week, and that's how many days we had. I went every single day. I don't think I missed a single day of training from April 8th, 2019 to when I went to college. Obviously, it's very hard balancing college and professional wrestling. It's two things you have to pour your heart into if you want to succeed. And it's a very rough balance. I'm going through it right now, but it's worth it.
I first met Hellcat in 2013, pretty early on in my training. He's the owner of Upstate Pro Wrestling, and he runs the school here. At first, you kind of take him as you see him, you know, not really knowing him. Real old school guy, maybe a little rough around the edges, maybe not really agree with his philosophies at first, you know. So you kind of just take him as he is, you know. Definitely respect him for what he's done, especially here in Rochester for the wrestling scene. But it wasn't until like I had my first major injury till I kind of developed a close relationship with him. He likes to say he took me under his wing, you know, so we kind of bonded through that.
I've been teaching and training other guys to teach for damn near 20 years. And if I took a Polaroid of every guy that's walked through my doors, I could probably, if I had to guess, thousands of guys walk through that door. And at the end of the day, on the average, there's maybe 20 to 30 around out of thousands. I mean, we produce some of the best wrestlers around, in my opinion. Everywhere from Colin Delaney to Luke Harper, who both have left this facility and gone on to the WWE. We've had guys go to ROH, recently All Elite. We have some of our students there. Overseas, we've had guys go to Japan and Germany and Mexico. It may not be the new norm of training, but it's what I believe in my bloodline and where I came from. The style we do here, and I believe that's to train you as a complete wrestler. The look, the ability, the entertainment factor. It's just not a bunch of gymnasts jumping around doing a dance. You're going to learn how to be a pro here.
I think wrestling is important. I don't know how much I can say about folks, but it's important to me because it has taught me psychology. Not like book psychology, not like going to see a psychologist, but it's taught me the way of people. And once you're able to read people, you can become a great professional wrestler. It doesn't take a lot of physical skill. It's mostly about psychology. It's mostly about like figuring out how to control the emotions of the masses, which is the most dangerous weapon on the planet. If you could control a group of people, like that's godlike power. I think what people should pay attention to is the great ones always have a great handle on psychology. They know what evokes a feeling, and they know how to tap on that and to tap into that and how to mold that to their will. And all the great ones are able to do that. So what I would say is what's important to wrestling fans of my caliber is that psychology. It's really solid. If it's a really solid psychology, then wrestling is secondary.
Gotta have a love for it. It's hard to. You can't make wrestlers. I believe you're either born one or you're not. I don't think you could just show up and be a pro wrestler and survive for any length of time without having this certain little something in you that is special. When you know you have that crowd right here, and they're either swearing at you, cheering you, loving you, hating you, when you have them right here, it's like you're the king of the world. There's no better feeling in my opinion. You're me down the palm of your hand.
I don't know what the future is going to hold with balancing college and school, but I'm doing as much as I can right now. I think as we're filming this right now, I've wrestled 4 matches in the past 24 plus hours, give or take. So, you know, sometimes I'll be doing homework for a whole week, or I don't know, like weekends like this, I am wrestling the whole weekend. So pursue wrestling as much as I can when I can, just as long as it doesn't diminish or hurt how I'm doing in college. But yeah, I feel like so far I'm doing pretty good. It's very hard, but trajectory-wise, after college, hopefully I have a good job so I can wrestle as much as I want to, but we'll see. Yeah, we will see.
Well, I mean, I used to be a police officer, and now I'm a old retired, wrestler. We have all walks of life come through this door. I've seen from the unemployed to unemployed trying to pay for wrestling school. Those are the best guys. To school teachers, to health aides, to construction workers. I mean, all walks of life. I mean, wrestling really doesn't have boundaries. It's loved by many of people, whether you're brown, red, blue, pink, sexuality, all that. It's loved by, it's universal. It really is. So everyone comes in with their own, backstory. Mine was my grandfather. Someone else might have been their dad or their uncles, or just saw it one Saturday morning and fell in love with it. I mean, I'm not even gonna bullshit you and say we run around here as one big happy family. And whether you're wrestling school or your job or anywhere in life, I mean, we all don't get along. But being the boss and the guy in charge, I have to somehow try to make 40 guys not be a bunch of bitchy babies. And everyone thinks they're the alpha male. There's only one, that's right here. So, and then there's one next down to me, and that's Russell's son, who it's really not my son, but damn. From a guy who has 3 girls. That's my son. It's been a long, long road for me.
I really owe a lot to Hellcat. I like to use the term #WrestleDad. He's my wrestle father, He has given me a lot through wrestling. He's given me a lot of opportunities that I may not have deserved at the time, but I really appreciate everything that he's done for me, and I definitely look at him as a father figure.
Me and my mother's relationship when it came to my sexuality and my gender identity was rocky at best. She understood that something was different about me, but she didn't understand how it was different. So it was a lot of conditioning to be a man from her that I just didn't need. I just kind of wanted her to listen, and she was the one who pushed me into fight sports. My dad gave me a love of wrestling, but my mom gave me a love of boxing. Some of the bonding moments that me and her share is her yelling over my coach because she was a better coach than my current coach, and I really do miss her, and I wish that she was still around, because the person I am today, she doesn't know. She's never met Cameron. She just named me. As a trans person, being able to channel your authenticity is often super hard. It's something that we aren't really allowed. But as a professional wrestler, being able to harness the anger that I felt in real life and turn it into a being, a living, breathing being, was very cathartic for me. I don't regret being Gabriel Saint. I think Gabriel Saint was a huge part of my growth as a person. It gave me an outlet that was safe, a safe space to explode.
I think everybody in wrestling is their own individual self. Just because I choose to do something doesn't mean I'm going to push my beliefs on you, you know? Everybody walks their own path in life. What drives me may not be what drives somebody else, you know? We are all from different walks of life, so my story may not be the same as yours.
Eventually, maybe when my dad died, you know, probably about the time my dad died back in 2013, I really just, something switched for me where like I need to start taking care of me and I need to start doing the things that make me happy, you know, and money is not the most important thing to me, you know. It might be to my family, you know, but I want to be a professional wrestler. I just want to be happy. And what makes me happy is being a professional wrestler, you know? And a lot of my family doesn't support that. And honestly, I don't need their support because they don't live my life, you know? I am not going to, you know, hinder my own dream for the respect of another person because they just don't think it's realistic, you know. It's not their choice. It's not their opinion. So a lot of my family, they think it's a joke or whatever. They don't take it very serious, but it is what it is. You know, I love this and I'm going to continue to do it and nothing's going to stop me, especially my family. My relationship with my father, it wasn't non-existent. I think he was young when I was born. And so, like, he had a lot of his own life to live, you know, and when I got a little older, he started pursuing other things, and, like, him and my mother split up, you know, and so I never got to really create a relationship with my father. But the wrestling thing came along quite a few years after he passed away, you know, so I'd like to think that if he was still around, he'd be at my wrestling shows, you know, supporting me. Absolutely.
Yeah, you were calling me out, huh? You wanted a piece of me, huh?
I always said when I stopped wrestling, and then they always talk about how everything just kind of catches up to you, your body, your mind, it just all goes to, that's where I am now. I never thought I would feel this way. I still love it, but mentally and physically, I know I'm not there anymore. So 20 years, I promise this time, then it's, I hope, like I said, the ones that are working underneath my wing right now are going to take the ball and run for 20 years on their own. Time will tell. We'll see.